So hello everyone. Today now we'll start a webinar on careers in cloud security and how basically to choose a career in cloud security and allied platforms. Okay. So basically just an introduction about myself. Myself Krish. I'm a MCT Microsoft certified trainer and basically I work in the IT for the last 17 years on various domains and cloud computing from 2009 onwards. So basically I'm a cloud security architect and trainer for various corporates. Okay. That's my profile. So today I'll basically give you the strategies which you have to follow for gaining or getting the proper skills for cloud computing. So basically, before I start, I'll just give you an idea about what exactly we are planning today. Okay. So basically, I'll drive it to the factors of cloud computing, why this cloud computing and the security factors are very important. What are the advantages and drawbacks of cloud computing? How it can be beneficial to the business, what are the factors you have to consider before moving to cloud platform, and how can you choose a cloud service provider? And then we basically will move to how to choose a career in cloud computing with some recent job roles I have seen today itself. Okay, so basically let's discuss some additional skills you have to get and how you have to prepare for the career, or basically what are the certifications you have to take for that, and everything we'll discuss. Okay, so as you know that basically for every companies when they talk about cloud computing. Okay, so some years back it was just a word which is not familiar to anyone. But now what happens is cloud computing is a word which is familiar to everyone. Cloud computing is now a word which is familiar to everyone. Okay, why? Because you have seen that almost some 70% of the companies worldwide is basically moving to cloud. Okay, and now every company is using some kind of cloud services. Every company is using some kind of cloud services. Okay, that's a very important thing. Nowadays almost all the companies worldwide is using some kind of cloud services. Okay, and what are the different job roles? So basically when I started my career in cloud computing, okay, when I started my career in 2009 in cloud computing, I have seen that cloud is basically having a lot of job requirements. Like that time it was like, okay, you have to basically if you want to get a job in cloud computing, the first thing you have to do is basically you have to get into a get a cloud certification from AWS or Azure. That time AWS was basically a bit growing in demand. Okay, then after that a lot of changes happened, and now we have a lot of specializations in cloud platform like DevOps, cloud security, cloud operations, cloud compliance, cloud architecting. Likewise, we have different job roles. Okay, so in this webinar, I'll be focusing basically on the cloud security requirements. Okay, that's it. So most people, when they ask me about the cloud computing job roles and cloud computing requirements and all, the first thing I will basically I will tell them is the first thing basically they will ask me is basically about the experience. How much experience you need to get into a profile in cloud computing, or my experience is currently in a different platform. Let's say the experience is currently in security, or experience is currently in development, or if you are currently from a different background, how you can enter this cloud security domain. That's the first thing. Okay, so basically we will discuss about that in detail. Okay, so we have a lot of reasons why companies move to cloud. The first of all, basically when the companies say they want to move to cloud, okay, when the companies say basically they want to move to cloud, what happens is the whole process or the whole intention of a company is to reduce the IT complexity. That means that if my company is basically focusing on some kind of business, like for example, let's say I have a company and my company is focusing on some kind of business requirements. At that time, if they have to spend some effort or more money or more human resources or everything for the data centers or the infrastructure, basically it is not getting or it is not giving some beneficial to the business. That is why basically what they do is to avoid these things. Nowadays companies want to outsource these requirements. Okay, so that is why cloud is getting in demand. So as cloud is getting in demand, definitely the job roles are increasing, the requirements are increasing, but there is some challenges also. I'll give an example for that. Let's say for example, previously when we say the word cloud computing, it is just meant, okay, cloud means storage or cloud means deploying VMs. But now it has moved very much far more, which include IoT, machine learning, business systems, data analysis. So for every platform, for every requirements, for every industry, for almost every business requirements, we have different flavors in the cloud platform. Okay, so as every type of companies are moving to cloud, and definitely now we have this, we are in the middle of this COVID pandemic. So basically because of that, every company is working, every people from the companies are working in home. So basically they want to have some solutions for that also. So cloud also is basically giving that benefits as well. Okay, so basically what happens is that is why the cloud requirements and job roles are ever increasing. Okay, so these are certain factors which we have to understand. Okay, when we talk about cloud security, we have a lot of myths actually. Basically, we think that okay, cloud is something which is a bit tricky, or basically we will lose the control. Likewise, we have a lot of myths on cloud computing, but that we will discuss. Okay, so before that, understand that when you talk about the word called as cloud computing security, I'm not talking about AWS or I'm not talking about Azure. I'm talking about every cloud platform, either it's on premises or off premises or any cloud platform. When you talk about the cloud platform, understand that the security issues are everywhere. The only difference is like the way you're choosing the security requirements, like the model of the cloud computing you're choosing, the security can or the security requirements can vary. That's all. First one, basically every cloud platform, whatever kind of service models or whatever kind of deployment models you're choosing, except for the on-premises private cloud, whatever models you're choosing, in every cloud model there is a word called as shared security model. That means that, or shared security responsibility model. That means that whenever we say the word cloud computing, the security is basically divided between the cloud service provider and the cloud service consumer. And if you want to seek a career or if you want to learn cloud security, the point number one you have to always remember is in each and every service, in each and every cloud provider, in each and every service and deployment model, understand what exactly is the cloud provider's responsibility and what exactly is the customer's responsibility. Let's say, for example, I'll give an example here. I'm just logging onto my AWS platform here. Just give me a second. So once I log into my cloud platform, I'll show you which all services and what all responsibilities are there. Just an example I'm showing you. See, it is not based on AWS. You can think in the perspective of Azure or Google or any cloud platform. Okay, I'm just showing an example of AWS. That's all. Okay. So basically, you can see that we have a lot of services here. You can see that we have a lot of services here. Just for your example. So basically, assume that I am basically going to this particular service. This is a very familiar service to everyone, which is called as EC2. It's a IaaS kind of service in cloud platform, infrastructure as service. So basically, in this particular service called as EC2, the provider will manage the hardware, the provider will manage the virtualization, the provider will manage the connectivity. So except these things, a few more things basically, all the other things, including your virtual machine operating system, your applications, your database, your data, and everything is your responsibility. Like the same way, basically, if I'm going to a service called as Elastic Beanstalk, if I basically go to the service, the cloud service provider will manage your operating system. The cloud service provider will manage your platform because it's a PaaS service. So like that, for every service, it's very important to understand what is the provider's responsibility. What is the provider's responsibility? And what is exactly is the customer's responsibility. Unless otherwise we have a clarity on that, we will not be able to implement cloud platform. And the second factor which we have to understand is based on the cloud model you're choosing. Okay, based on the cloud model you're choosing, basically what happens is, let's say for example, if I'm talking about IaaS or PaaS or SaaS or public cloud or any cloud model, the risk can vary. That means that, let's say when I say the word I am moving to cloud platform, that doesn't mean that I am completely transferring all my risk to the cloud service provider. 100% not. Whatever cloud platform you're choosing, whatever cloud service model you're adopting, you are always responsible for the data. Don't forget. That's a very important point you'll always keep in mind. Whenever I basically move to AWS or Azure or Google or any cloud platform, so the responsibility of the data and the compliance and everything will always lie with you only. Like the same way, we have a lot of risk also, but some certain risk we can transfer. Like for example, when you move to a public cloud provider, like Amazon or Azure or Google or Oracle or any cloud provider, what happens is definitely the risk of underlying hardware, like basically the infrastructure and the risk of the DR like DR locations and everything can definitely shift to the cloud service provider, not the DR strategy. I'm talking about DR locations. So like this, the cloud service provider, based on the service you're taking, the risk can vary. Okay, but still you have some risk. So if the benefit I'm getting is very much more than the risk is there, definitely I can move to the cloud service provider. And understand one more point, that whenever you move to any cloud service provider, it is basically, it's not about for everyone it's the same model or everyone it's the same requirement. So you have to choose the cloud service provider very wisely. You have to choose the cloud service model. You have to choose the cloud service strategy. Everything you have to choose based on the requirements. Okay, and this is very, very, very critical factor. So basically, you know that the security in a company is an ongoing process. Why? Because whenever you talk about any business, whenever you talk about any business, there is a security issue. 100% sure there will be a security issues, right? So basically what happens when we have security issues, okay, when we have security issues, like then they need a lot of security professionals and security strategies to mitigate the rings very effectively. Okay, so when we say the word, okay, I'm moving to cloud, okay, tomorrow my company is planning to move to cloud, there also I have the same level of security issues. We have more sophisticated threats and data breach, and it is increasing every day also. So basically it's always there. Okay, the next factor, misconfigurations and deviations from standards and baselines. I'll give an example for that. Let's say I have seen a lot of people say, Krish, I passed the AWS exams, I passed the Azure exams, I passed Google exams. So basically, if I ask you how many people know how to secure or how to deploy EC2 instances, so basically we have a lot of people who basically know how to deploy instances, how to deploy storage, how to deploy the Azure services. So people know everything because you can learn from somewhere, you can basically get it from the internet, a lot of locations like that. But what matters here is, okay, what matters here is how much it can be efficient for you, how much you can do it securely. That's very important. See, whenever you go to any service, let's say even I also say, okay, I basically teach my students, okay, they know how to deploy things in S3, they know how to deploy things in AWS CloudWatch. So all these things are very fine, but it's very important to understand how these things can be done securely. Like for example, let's say you are deploying an EC2 instance. So when you deploy an EC2 instance, you have to look into a lot of factors. I'll give a simple example. I'll just give you a simple example. So team, just for our understanding. Okay. So I have seen certain people tell me that, okay, Krish, I know how to deploy instances. So can anyone tell me what are the factors we have to consider while deploying a VM in an IaaS service? Can I tell you how we can deploy a VM in IaaS service or easy to instance, we can say instance in an IaaS service? What are the security factors? Okay, we have the security groups, then storage. Like basically, okay, that's a very important thing. Definitely security groups are something which matters because it's a firewall configuration. So to access the VMs inbound or outbound, we have to basically make sure we have made us the security groups very strong. Perfect. And then we need to have a storage for the EC2 instances. But when I say the word storage, I have to make sure that storage is highly secure by using an effective encryption strategy. Okay, I have to use an effective encryption strategy. Then the OS security is also a concern. Because why? Because whenever you talk about instances, you have to make sure the OS operating system is also secure. Like the patching, the maintenance, the updation, the hardening, all these things you must take care. Then we have a lot of more things. Then so secure access to the operating system or OS. How do you ensure the secure access? Using VPN mechanisms, using other mechanisms, you can basically secure the access to the operating systems. So like this, you have even more. Anything else? Logging and monitoring the capacity of the machine is very important. And then we have to make sure the access, the identity and access management. Like this, we have a lot of things. So basically, in that single service itself, these things you have to keep in mind. We have some 10 more things we have to keep in mind just for ensuring the security of the EC2. Like the same way, for every service in AWS, or every service in Azure, every service in Google, the same thing applies. You have a lot of responsibilities. You have to take care of a lot of things. So basically, I have seen that in several companies, whenever I go to some security consultation and everything, I have seen that many companies suffer the data breaches or security attacks just because of this misconfigurations. See, I basically say that, okay, Krish, I know that how to deploy things in that, but how do you deploy it in a secure way? That's what we have to understand. Okay, we have to make sure we must basically have a proper plan to do the secure configurations, avoid misconfigurations, and you have to establish certain standards and baselines. For example, now we discuss about this particular factor. Okay, which I know how to deploy the OS security, but for OS security there is a lot of standards, CIS benchmarks, a lot of other standards are there, provider requirements. So basically the provider requirement, the CIS benchmarks, like this, a lot of factors are there for OS security. That is securely standard. So you have to basically define the standards, stick on to the certain standards, establish proper baselines. So like this, you can ensure the security of the IaaS services. For every service this applies. Let's say, for example, I have seen that most people say, Krish, this elastic beanstalk is the responsibility of the cloud service provider. So basically it's a PaaS service. Then why do I worry about it? See, even if elastic beanstalk is there, still you have a lot of responsibility. You have to make sure that particular platform is defined in the your requirement. The security groups and firewalls are basically configured in a secure way. The traffic to this elastic beanstalk is basically encrypted. So like this, and the backend communication from the elastic beanstalk to RDS is secure. So like this, still there also we have a lot of requirements. Okay, so security breach mean that basically what happens is the attacker or the person who is trying to do something malicious, what he will do is he will find some loopholes in your security posture. The attacker will basically try to find some kind of misconfigurations. The attacker will basically find some kind of issues or like some loopholes, anything in your security scenario, and they will utilize that to attack your infrastructure. This happens always. Even like basically, I'll just show you an example. This is a very common example for the attacks happen for your Amazon S3. Okay, this is basically something which happened for Amazon S3 for the last few years. Let's from 2018 onwards. See this. We will say, Krish, it's after all just a few attacks, but it has compromised the information of millions of customers. These are the most commonly known attacks. We have a lot more occurred till now, yesterday also. So it happens every time, just because we don't configure, we don't basically take care of the security in a proper manner. So definitely we can say cloud provider also have some responsibility. I also agree with that. Cloud provider do have the responsibility, but that doesn't mean that they are not solely responsible for it. We also have the responsibilities, and we have to make, see, example, we say Facebook. So when I say the word Facebook, we say, okay, Krish, Facebook is basically an application, the SaaS service provided by the Facebook provider. Then why do you worry about it? But in Facebook also, you have some more than 10 security requirements. You have some more than 10 responsibilities. So basically, if you want to secure your Facebook account, you have to basically follow more than 10 security practices at least. So like this, a lot of security issues can happen. You have to make sure you basically follow proper standards. You have to make sure you do the things properly. Okay, so basically that is very important. And the next one is compliance requirements. So when you go to a cloud service provider, and if you say that, okay, I'm complying with your security requirement, let's say, for example, I want to basically do some online transactions or credit card transactions in US, I have to comply with the PCI DSS. Example, that's an established standard, very well established standard. So I have to comply with the PCI DSS. But when a cloud service provider say he is complying with the PCI DSS, doesn't mean that the responsibility is basically with him. 100% responsibility is with you only, because you are the person who is providing the service to the customers. The customers are not seeing the cloud service provider. So basically, who is facing the customers? You only. So basically, the 100% requirement for this compliance is basically with you. Even if the cloud service provider is complying with this requirement, you have to make sure you follow proper standards. And definitely this is a very, very important point I felt for the last 1 year or 1 or 2 years. Actually, I'll tell you the requirement. So basically, previously what happened was cloud was used for storage, cloud was used for VMs, cloud was used for a database. But now what happens is cloud is used for almost some 60 times more, 60% more requirements. Like for example, machine learning, AI, IoT, data analysis. Like this, cloud platform is basically used for a lot of requirements. So when we see, I'll give an example. See, if I'm basically, last time I had a project where I have to connect some IoT devices centrally in the AWS cloud platform. At that time, what happens? Okay, after all, it's IoT devices. But how can I make sure my IoT devices are secure? How can I make sure my uh, machine learning platform is secure? My data analysis is secure? So for that, so understand that the cloud platform is basically increasing, or the horizon is increasing every day. So the same time, we have a lot of challenges as well. We'll basically discuss about all these things. Okay, don't worry about that. And the next one is, this is a very, very interesting concept I have found for the last 1 year: zero trust model. So basically, Microsoft is basically pushing this a lot. But basically, what happens is zero trust model. I'll give you in a simple definition, one sentence definition. I'll give you. Zero trust model means never trust, must verify. That is the only thing. So basically, for example, the cloud service provider is saying, I am providing these requirements. Basically, your admin is saying, I am providing these requirements. So if you want to trust something, you must verify it. That is a basic principle of the zero trust model. And to have a layered security approach. This is very important when you choose about the cloud security. And finally, this is the most critical flaw I always see. Okay, this is the most technical flaw I always see. What happens is choosing the right solution. Basically, when I ask which is the best cloud service provider, some people say AWS, some people say Azure, some people say Google, some people say Oracle. So it's not like they are good or they are bad. I have seen that in certain cases Azure is the best one. I have seen that in certain cases AWS is the best one. How do you choose it? So you say it good or bad based on your business requirements only, nothing more. Okay, so that is why the cloud security is getting in demand every day. So I have seen a lot of several cases now. Basically, the companies are advertising more for the cloud security job roles. I'll show you some actually. So how it works, just because choosing the proper person to manage the security, or choosing the proper cloud service provider, choosing the proper cloud security devices, choosing the proper SLA, choosing the proper compliance, all these things are very, very important for a business. Okay, that's it. So whenever you want to say, I want to move to cloud computing, the first thing you have to understand is understand your business requirements, nothing more. First of all, establish or understand a business requirements and establish a baseline. So now I say that, okay, I want you now, okay, I say that I have these requirements. Okay, I want to have, okay, I want to have a virtual desktop, virtual office desktop for my customers or for my employees. Actually, yeah, fine. Okay, let's say for example, I'm from India team. I am from India. So basically what happens is I want to have a virtual office desktop for my employees. So I go to AWS first. I take workspace. Okay, I take workspace. First one. So team, this is my requirement. Okay, this is my business requirement. I want to have a virtual office desktop for my employees, online desktop or cloud desktop, we can say. Okay. So basically, I'm going to Mumbai. As I'm from India, I have a strict legal requirement. I basically go to Mumbai. Okay. See, it's grayed out. Mumbai is not available. So understand that this particular service provider is not offering the service in Mumbai. So AWS is out. Okay. I cannot choose AWS for this requirement. Okay, then I go to Azure. I take Windows Virtual Desktop. I want to see if they can provide in Mumbai. Let's see. So this is a simple example. I'm basically going to create a pool of host pool. I'm not going in depth in this Azure part, just showing an example. Yeah, okay. So I want to see if this particular pool is available in India. Okay. So once I basically go to this, okay, once I go to this, and basically I can make sure, see, I can basically go to this, I can just scroll down. You can see that, see, they're also not offering in India. Basically everything is in US only, there's no India. So like this, you have to choose a cloud service provider who is able to provide the service in the region you have the requirement. First one. Okay. The second one, cost. Definitely cost matters. How do you see the cost? So basically, each of these cloud service providers are offering something called as, okay, every cloud service provider is nowadays offering something called as this pricing calculator. Like for example, if I show an example here, AWS pricing calculator and Azure pricing calculator. Just an example, I'll just give me a second. I'll just open it for you here. So you can see that in AWS, you have a service called as AWS pricing calculator. You can just type it like this. You don't have to have an account in this. Just click on create estimate and add your requirements. Basically, they will show you an estimate approximate cost actually. Okay. Like the same way I go to Azure. Here also I can basically add the services and calculate the cost I'm getting. So basically, cost also you can consider definitely. Availability of services. How do you know the availability of services? You have to review the SLA provided by the cloud service provider. If you want to verify or you want to get the clarity on the availability of services, you have to make sure you basically take the SLA of the or you have to basically go through the SLA of the cloud service provider. So I'll give an example. So basically, whenever I say the word availability, most people think, Krish, after all, availability is not a that guy is offering 99.9% availability, and the other guy is offering 99.99% availability. Is that same? 100% no. 99.9% availability and 99.99% availability is entirely different. See this. That means that you have to see the values. You have to see the decimal integer value. Each and every value you have to see how much the availability they're offering. That is very important. That matters actually. Okay, so availability, you have to basically go through SLA and verify how much availability they are guaranteeing you. That's very important actually. Because why? Because after all, you're serving your customers. Or let's say, for example, if I'm running a critical business which can't suffer a downtime, I have to make sure I have 100% availability. But definitely there's no 100% availability. At least I can offer 99.99% availability. Then definitely regulatory and compliance requirements. So if my cloud service provider is able to comply with my business legal requirements or regulatory requirements like PCDSS, HIPAA, GDPR, those kind of things and all. The next one is security. So security means, Krish, you told that security is a shared thing. 100% I'll tell you, security is a shared thing. But what matters here is the cloud service provider is providing some kind of security controls. Let's say, for example, in Amazon EC2, they are providing certain option to enforce security. In AWS virtual machines, they are offering some security mechanisms. But which is the best one, which is meeting to your business requirement? Or let's say, for example, the type of data I want to protect, the type of data I want to process, which cloud service provider is offering the best security requirement for your business? I'll give an example. I have seen that we have a service in AWS called as AWS Inspector. I always say this. Why? Because of a lot of reasons. So AWS Inspector, we have a service called as AWS Inspector. Okay, it's basically a VA tool, vulnerability assessment tool. But I have seen that when you compare with Azure or any other platform, okay, when you compare with any platform, in Azure also we have services like this. So basically what happens is when you compare with Azure or any other cloud platform, or let's say any third-party tools, I have seen when I get 10 requirements, okay, when I get 10 requirements, only 3 or 4 maximum requirements match with AWS Inspector. So basically, in my perspective, I'm saying, so when I get some 10 requirements from 10 different customers, I have seen that only 3 or 4 customer requirements may match with AWS Inspector. All the other requirements is not at all able to be provided with the help of AWS Inspector. You have to go for some third-party tools. That is why I'll show you some job roles here. In the job roles, you will see that why they are asking you for additional skill set. Just because these inbuilt tools or onboard tools are not able to provide the requirements as per the requirement. Okay. The next one. This is very important. See, you told me cost is very important, right? When you say cost is important, choosing the right size of your VMs, choosing the storage, and everything is important if you want to have a cost, if you want to have an effective cost, if you want to have proper availability, if you want to have proper business requirement, if you want to meet your business requirements properly, this matters. And finally, the resource skill set. So like this, you have to choose the cloud service provider based on a lot of factors. This is just an example I'm saying. Like this, we have a lot of things. So definitely this is what most people think. Or now definitely the perspective changed, but still most people think, why do I care with my CSP is basically taking care of everything? That's why we basically discuss. Okay. So when I say the cloud service provider, when I say the cloud service provider, understand that they are providing me some services that doesn't, the same thing I've already told you. Whenever I'm moving to a cloud service provider, that doesn't mean that they provide me everything. That doesn't mean that the cloud service provider is basically my complete security architect. As we discussed, it varies according to the cloud service and deployment models we are using. Just a few factors I want to discuss about you regarding some myths and facts which we have in the cloud platform. Then we will basically go to the cloud job roles. Okay, that's it. So basically, we have a lot of myths regarding this cloud platform. This is basically a myth I want to say definitely. We have a lot of myths when talk about cloud platform. See, cloud is less secure than physical servers. This is the first myth more people have. As the cloud platform mean that basically everything is on a different location, or basically it's basically on different premises. That means that it's less secure. Don't think it like that. So the security is always based on the type of service and deployment model choosing, the way you are implementing the controls, the way you are basically enforcing proper monitoring. So whatever security issues which you have in the on-premises, the same thing applies to cloud also. Because after all, cloud doesn't mean that we have the cloud in the sky. It's basically just a data center. So whatever security issues you have here, the same thing applies there also. But we can manage it, we can mitigate it, we can work effectively when we are in the cloud. Why? Because see, we have basically in the on-premises, we are alone. We are managing everything. But when you go to the cloud service provider, what happens is the cloud provider is also providing me some certain options to basically manage the security. So once I align the controls properly, I have seen that cloud servers are more secure. Okay, so basically I have seen a lot of people basically disagree with this statement. But I always say cloud is not at all like, okay, going to cloud doesn't mean that you are in risk. It's not like that. When you go to cloud, if you take proper controls, if you make sure you basically have, see, now you have fever, you have COVID, example. So basically, if you basically, okay, go to a nearby note, go to a nearby COVID patient, you have a risk. So you're wearing certain mechanisms to make sure you don't get infected. Like the same way, when you go to cloud, the strategy changes, the same level of security issues are there as like the on-premises, but basically the difference is the strategy or the way of mitigating or managing the risk changes. That's all. Definitely the security is very much improved. Because why? Because the cloud providers are basically striving to provide you more and more effective solutions. And the next myth which we have is that we already discussed that. Definitely, now you know that the security is basically not the provider's responsibility. By the end, the business is always responsible for the data. Whatever service models or deployment models you're using, the business, the organization, the customer is basically responsible for the data. And the third one, Krish, attacks in the cloud is very frequent. Definitely, cloud also is having a lot of attacks, but it is very much less when you compare with on-premises. See, the first reason for attacks is basically misconfigurations. The first reason for any attack in any cloud platform is basically misconfigurations. So basically, we always say in this trainings and all, there is no patch for human stupidity. So what happens is, see, I'm basically implementing some applications. I am basically implementing some kind of services, either in on-premise or cloud. If I don't do it properly, if I don't enforce proper controls, if I have a loophole, that will be utilized by the by the attackers, right? So misconfigurations are there, except that whatever attack is there in the on-premises, the same level of attacks or same level of security issues are there in the cloud. So basically what happens in the cloud platform also, if you secure it properly, we can reduce the chance of attacks. And definitely this is the next one. Krish, I am moving to cloud platform. So that doesn't mean, that means that they are giving us all the controls. See, now I told you something here, right? You remember that I told you that I want to do vulnerability assessment. Okay, I want to do vulnerability assessment, and I have gone to this AWS inspector. Okay, perfect. I have gone to a service called as AWS inspector, but I found out that this AWS inspector service is not at all meeting my requirement. It's just a waste of money. Example, for me, for my current requirement, I felt, okay, this is not good. So I don't have to worry about anything. I simply go to the cloud service provider, the same cloud service provider. I take a third-party service. Nowadays, almost all the cloud service providers are providing third-party services. Nowadays, almost all the major vendors, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, almost all the vendors, Cisco, everybody is providing their devices and services as virtual applications in the cloud platform in either AWS or Azure. Let's say, for example, I want to deploy a firewall. I just basically go to add virtual machine. Or let's say, for example, I can go to Azure Marketplace or AWS Marketplace. I can basically take which one whatever things I want, no problem. See, I want to basically go for this example. I'll give an example here. So I want to go to firewall. I click on this. See, I'll get a firewall from different companies, Juniper, Qualys. See this. So these are all third-party services. Like the same way you have in AWS also. So there is no point you think that, okay, the cloud service provider is not offering me all the services. If they are not offering the service, you can go for third-party services. That's the only thing. The only thing is in the cloud platform also, if you feel like the cloud provider or data things are not secure enough, either you can go to another cloud service provider, or you can basically choose the proper third-party services supporting the cloud platform. And I have seen that almost all the major vendors nowadays are basically supporting the cloud platforms also. Okay, that's it. The next one, you can't find with what cloud service providers are doing with your data. That is a very important myth you have basically. But I'll tell you, definitely I agree with that. You cannot basically go to the cloud service providers premise and see what they're doing. I do agree, because tomorrow if I want to make sure my cloud service, what my cloud service provider is doing with my data, I cannot go there. Okay, but what happens? How do you trust them? So we have certain factors to trust the cloud service provider. If you want to trust your cloud service provider, if you want to trust your cloud service provider about storing your data, the first thing, go through the compliance requirements. Okay, compliance and audit reports. First thing, oh, you can basically go through the compliance and audit reports. That's the first thing. Definitely, I agree. You can basically go through the compliance and audit reports. The second thing, Krish, the report is there, but still, what if they are able to, or what if they are basically stealing my data? It can happen. I don't say that it cannot happen. What if let's say for example, I work in AWS, I work in Azure. What if I'm the employee there in AWS or Azure, and I'm basically angry with my company? I want to leak the customer's data. It will basically damage the reputation. So what I can do as a customer, I can enforce effective encryption. I can have a proper encryption strategy. So if you have a proper encryption strategy, even if your data is leaked or even if your data is exposed, nothing will happen because the data is properly encrypted. But this word matters a lot. Okay. The third one. So like this, you have a lot of things you can do to make sure you have a trust on your CSP. And the third and the most important point, SLAs and contracts. You can have a proper SLA and contract. Basically, based on this, you can have a proper and always go for a reputable cloud providers. Why do you want to go for local providers? Just verify the cloud service providers reports and basically how much compliance they are offering. And basically, based on that, go to the cloud service provider. Okay. And after all, you're not stuck at the cloud provider. Anytime you can move to any other cloud provider. The next point, see, if the cloud service provider requirements is not meeting your requirements, go to another cloud service provider or go to third party service. Why do you want to worry about it? And the last and the most important myth, Krish, moving to cloud is always cost effective. Moving to cloud is completely effective. I do agree, moving to cloud is highly effective. It will definitely give you a lot of cost benefit if you plan it carefully. If you basically manage the security, sorry, if you basically manage the proper hardware requirements, if you take proper storage, if you verify the proper plans offered. So based on that, if you plan carefully, it will be cost effective. Otherwise, the same level of effort, the same level of headaches you have in the cloud also. Okay. And definitely we discussed this. And this is the most important concern I was hearing for a lot of years, but now it's basically less. But still, Krish, when we move to cloud, Krish, I'm a network engineer, I'm a desktop support engineer, I'm a system administrator, I'm this, I'm that. So basically, by the end, my company is moving to cloud. That means that my job is gone. First point, when I say my company is moving to cloud, definitely, if I'm not able to understand the cloud strategy, I am vulnerable for job loss. I agree with that. The only thing is, in the IT, the whole point is you have to update. You have to basically upgrade whenever your company requirement changes. See, now I have one person told me, Krish, I don't like scripting and programming, but if there is a requirement coming up, I will learn. Otherwise, I lose my job. Like the same way is there. So basically, cloud computing does not kill any job. This is a very confusing word, but basically I'll tell you. So in the cloud platform, everything from the infrastructure and everything is automated. But still we need people with expertise and understanding to manage them effectively. We need people to basically manage the data. We need people to manage the data flow, the security, the encryption, the environment. So basically we need people for that. So that means that moving cloud not will not kill your job, just they want to have some additional job requirements, that's all. Okay. And this statement I also agree, the cloud is not fit for every workload. I do agree, the cloud is not fit for every workload, but how can you make sure? So analyze your business requirements, choose a proper cloud service model, choose a proper deployment model, choose the proper cloud service provider will basically help you a lot in this. Okay, and there is nothing called as a small business or medium business. So let's say, for example, now just as a personal, I'm just a normal person. So basically, I don't basically own a company. So I want to host my personal website. Okay, I want to host a personal website. So basically, hosting a personal website, if I basically go to AWS or Azure, it can cost me a lot. I can go to GoDaddy, I can go to HostGator or any other providers. They're also cloud, right? So my business is too small doesn't mean that I can't go to cloud. Definitely I can adopt cloud, but based on my requirements, choose the proper thing. Okay, and definitely, as you know, that now the cloud is not only used for storage, it's basically for a lot of things. And the next one, this is a very interesting word in cloud: lock-in. Don't confuse lock-in. Vendor lock-in means, let's say now your company is completely moving to Azure. Okay, so your company decided, okay, we will move to Azure. So now my company is completely moving to Azure. After some time, maybe after some 1 year, I found out that that was the worst decision I made. Example, I want to move to AWS, but due to some dependency requirements, due to some problems, I'm not able to move from Azure to AWS. Currently, all my infra is in Azure. I want to move to AWS. But what if due to some dependencies or due to some API issues and all, if I'm not able to move from AWS, Azure to AWS, what happens? I am stuck with the wrong person. That's what you call as vendor lock-in. So having a proper strategy, having a proper SLA, having open source plugins and everything can help you a lot. And definitely, as you know, that cloud is not only for tech companies, it's for every industry based on your requirements. Is it clear, team? So basically, in the cloud also, we have a lot of breaches. So basically, a lot of breaches occur in cloud platform. Okay, this is, see, because of all these reasons why we say that cloud platform requires a lot of security professionals. The first one, basically starting from 2017, or let's say we have a lot more previous things. Just I'm giving an example. See this. So basically, in September 2008, the VM has 445 million customers record, and things were basically exposed because of this MongoDB issue. Like the same way, October 2019, Adobe was basically having 7 million user accounts configured because in AWS there was a service called as Elasticsearch was not having a password. See, even if they say that this is misconfigurations, this is of negligence, it don't happen intentionally, right? Either whatever happens, why? Why? Because people know how to configure cloud platform, but people are not aware how to do it effectively. This is very common. This is basically for AWS S3 actually. So all these attacks you see here is basically for AWS S3. Then you can ask, then Krish, why we use AWS S3? Why can't we go for any other providers? Because no other providers are offering better service than Amazon S3. That's why. Let's say, for example, I have seen that we have a lot of other providers, but no other providers are offering better service than Amazon S3. So what you have to do, you have to make sure you basically do proper controls for that. That's it. That's the only way. Now we'll basically look into the core part of the webinar, which we basically discussed. Careers in cloud security. When I say the word careers in cloud security, most people ask me, Krish, tomorrow I'm going to join your CCSP batch, Azure batch, AWS batch. Okay. Okay. So, or they will say that, Krish, I finished my AWS security, AWS certification, or Azure certification, or 100 certifications, and tomorrow I'll get a job. So basically, this is what the problem which I have always seen. Even me also suffered the problem some years back, to be honest. So what happens is when people study AWS security or Azure security or Google security, or let's say any other cloud platform or anything, they think, okay, this is the only thing you have to learn. But that's wrong. So based on your experience, based on your future plan, based on your skill set, you have to plan your career accordingly. Like for example, the strategy will be completely different for a person who is having 2-year experience and 20-year experience. So basically plan your strategy according to your experience level, your future career plan, the goals you're setting, and based on that, I'll show you some certain job roles, and I will tell you what all skills you have to acquire. And when you see these job roles, one thing you'll understand, you cannot basically go to basically, let's say for example, if I want to get a job, I have to study at least 10 things. Example, I have to study or I have to get some at least 10 skills if I want to get a job in cloud security. So that doesn't mean that, okay, I have to go to 10 different courses and basically learn all that. It will not work. See, basically now, okay, today you learn Azure, tomorrow you join for a course called as AWS, tomorrow you join for a course called as NetGeos, tomorrow you join for a course called as pen testing, tomorrow you join for a course called as something else. So basically, it will not do the job. I'll tell you how you have to learn. Okay. And the first one, as I think Manish said, The first thing you have to understand is basically you will definitely learn once your business needs it, because otherwise you'll be out. Okay, so the first one I want to show you is, see these job roles I'm showing. I don't want to basically expose the name of the companies. I just found this by searching it from the Naukri or Times Job or platforms like that. Okay, I just opened the website, I typed cloud security, I got this job roles. You can basically search for it. Okay, this is job role which is called as senior cloud security engineer. So let's analyze. This is okay. 5+ years experience in DevSecOps, or let's say we can ignore this word. You need to have 5+ years experience. So basically, you must be certified, or you must have a skill set of AWS certified solutions architect professional. My first question which I want to ask. Okay, so can I go to this job role without the certification? Can I go to this job role without the certification? In your aspect, some people are experienced and all, right? Tell me, can I go to this job role without having the certification? See, I'll give an example. If I am the interviewer, I'll tell you the reason also. I'll select the person 100%, even if he is not certified on this, because of one main reason. See, why? See, definitely, if the person is having certification, it can definitely give me some ideas for the business. But there is a word called as ideal candidate. How do I know he's an ideal candidate? See, I have some business requirements. If that particular candidate is able to meet my business requirements effectively, then there is no point I asking you, do you have 100 certifications? There's no point. See, basically, if you want to get a certification on these kind of things, what I have seen that you go to some Udemy courses, you go to some kind of, some online courses or some kind of materials, and you memorize some dumps or some questions, and by then you will be able to pass the exam. But passing the exam is nothing, just a piece of paper. It's just a interview, just a point where you can basically get into the interview. That's all in some cases. But other than that, I have seen that nowadays, all more than 60% companies nowadays, especially in 2020, I have seen this. They are basically searching for the ideal candidate, which is having the proper skill set for driving the requirements and the future requirements. He must be enthusiastic. Like, okay, I am very much interested in AWS. I am able to meet all these requirements. Then why do I worry about the certification? So more than certification, the first thing which matters is the skill set. Don't forget, team. The first thing which matters is your skill set. I have seen several professionals, and from my experience and my experience with some professionals in the industry, I have seen that definitely nowadays companies are preferring for people who is having the skills more than experience, more than this certification. Definitely, certification is very important, but certification is just a piece, just a point where you can start. Otherwise, that nothing. So definitely, so I got this question right. Proficiency in scripting languages, batch scripting or Python or Ansible. Yeah, I'll discuss about that. Don't worry. Then basically experience in monitoring and improve. Then experience in Linux, experience in drafting in security guidelines and controls, exceptional problem solving. So just for my understanding, team. So for these things, which all things you can get which all requirements you can basically go for a certification. Definitely, this can you can get from a course and certification. This also, if you want, you can get from a course and certification. But these things can you get from a complete, or let's say, can you go to a course for each and everything on this? No, right? Like this, that's why they say, see, you can get an AWS security certification or CH kind of certifications. That will be an advantage. So understand that this is okay. The other skills you have developed by yourself. I'll tell you how to develop. Okay, I'll tell you the requirements. I'll show you one more job role. See this. This is another job role I see. You must be knowing Kubernetes security. So when I say the word Kubernetes security, Krish, Kubernetes security is too tough for me to manage because I'm not expert in Kubernetes. Team, the job role is saying that Kubernetes security. That doesn't mean that you have to be 100% expert in writing Kubernetes documents, YAML that files. You don't have to basically write the Kubernetes file code. You don't have to know coding for that. You must know how to make sure your containers are secure. So Kubernetes security is different from learning how to develop Kubernetes clusters or containers. Okay. So good knowledge in pen testing and identity access management. Definitely, team, this is something which is super important. Whichever cloud security job role you go, I have seen this is there everywhere. No job roles are there without this IAM, identity and access management. Because why? Because it's one of the most important concerns most companies have. So if you want to get a job in cloud security, this is a must go thing for that, identity and access management. Okay, first thing I always say. Second one, this is also I strongly recommend hybrid cloud platform. That means that, let's say for example, I have seen a lot of people come to me on AWS or come to me on Azure. I tell them that you can definitely learn this, but you have to learn at least one more platform by yourself. Why? Because if you know at least two platforms, but that doesn't mean that you have to basically go for two courses. Okay, so if you know at least two platforms, definitely that experience can basically increase your skill set up to 50% at least more. You will see 50% more improvement in your skill set if you know at least two cloud platforms. So I strongly recommend those people who basically want to get a career in cloud security must know identity access management, must learn at least two cloud platforms. It can be anything, AWS plus Azure, AWS plus GCP, Azure GCP or Oracle, something, at least two cloud platforms. That is mandatory. So monitoring and security, and this also I have seen everywhere. So basically, I'm just giving you the criteria for that. Let's write down team, so it will be better. First one, cloud security job roles. First one, definitely, as you know, what we discussed, IAM, right? IAM is, these are all mandatory skills, okay? Okay, the second one, do you agree Linux is also a skill, right? Do you agree that? I have seen almost all the cloud requirements. Yeah, definitely. But I'll tell you how to learn. Tomorrow you don't have to basically join for RC or any kind of course like that to learn Linux. I'll tell you how to learn that. Next one. What is the next one? Basically, we're discussing about IAM Linux, and then we're discussing about, yeah,
Awareness of the
uh,
cloud services.
at least two cloud, yeah, at least two cloud services, two CSPs. Okay, let's see the next. Okay, the next one. This is also a job role I saw now. Okay, let's see. Don't get bored, team. Don't worry. Not exactly IAM tools, at least IAM concepts. Like how can you manage them effectively? What are the strategy you have to follow? So now in a single word we say least privilege or uh, like least privilege or things like that. But basically what happens is you have to know the strategy in a cloud perspective. Like for example, in AWS you have a service called as AWS IAM. In Azure you have a service called as Azure Active Directory. So how do you make sure that people get a proper RBAC, role-based access control, and all? IAM, RBAC, etc. Okay, then the next one. So basically the common cloud tools. Okay, okay, phishing. Okay, that's a very important thing. Common cloud security tools. This you can definitely get from the or common inbuilt built cloud security tools. This you can get from the courses. Definitely, I agree with that. Like AWS Inspector, AWS Macy, Azure Security Center, and those kind of things like that. That's perfect. Then, yeah, that's fine. Next one, I have one more job load for you. Okay, yeah, this access control list, network security. But that doesn't mean that you have to master in that. You must be aware of these things, routing, how the routing happens, and these kind of things. Like I can say VPN, etc. Then this is just generic thing I'm always saying. That's why I'm saying to you. Okay, that's it. One more thing. Okay, now everybody is saying container security. Okay, let's add to it container security. Okay, container security matters, but I'll tell you, container security is not doesn't mean that it's you have to be master in Kubernetes or you have to master in Docker. I'm talking about the security perspective of it. See, team, this job role is basically the experience is there 0 to 3 years actually. See, okay, just one more. See, the same thing. They also say Linux systems. They also say container security. Just familiarity is enough. They want to know your experience in these platforms, security monitoring. That's basically covered in the security tools. Like this. So basically, how to get the skills? So what I felt is the first one, the second one, sorry, the first one, the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth and sixth mostly you can get from a yeah, definitely that is there, definitely that is there. So all these things you can get from the courses actually. Then how do you learn Linux? Okay, I'll tell you what I'm suggesting. Okay, So if you're looking to learn Linux, in the perspective of a cloud platform, let's say I want to work in cloud security, I want to learn Linux. Start with some kind of tutorial, something like just some basic tutorials is more than enough. If you Google it, you will get a lot of Linux tutorials for that free. Okay, so just go for that Linux tutorial just for the starting. It will take only 1 or 2 days, just a very basic introduction. Then practice. Do try to do more configurations, practice. That is more than enough. Because you are not focusing on Linux, you are focusing on cloud security. So basically having the Linux knowledge is good. So basic commands and everything, you can get a lot of cheat sheets, a lot of things like that. Go, that will help. But I strongly, and just one more thing. So this is one I felt in the market. If you just see if you agree with me. So what I felt is in India, I have seen that whenever you see the job description, okay, of the companies, whenever you see the job description, I have seen that uh, they are basically exaggerating a lot. They are basically adding some very much more requirements, and it is not practically viable. Do you think that, or basically when you define a job description, just I want to know, that's all. I'll tell you my perspective. Let's say, for example, this is a job description. Let's say this is a job description. So let's say I'm a person who is having some 80% skills mentioned in this. Will you take me on that job role? If I have 80% skill when on this particular thing, will you take me for the job role? If I have 50, okay, I don't know pen testing. Okay, I don't know pen testing. To be basically, if I make it clear, example, if I don't know pen testing, will you take me if I don't know pen testing? Because the job role is saying that he must be expert in these things. This is not the implementation part they're talking about. This particular thing is more about the strategies they are talking about. This job role is more about the strategies. Okay, so that doesn't mean, that means that this particular person is not supposed to sit in the front of the computer and configure always. He is supposed to create a strategy and plan and manage it effectively. So like that, if you can have at least 70 to 80% of the skill set, definitely you will be in the job, no problem. That is what I have seen regularly in the industry, but not for all job, but still for some it's there. So like this, so team, this is the very important factor. Understand that you know, at least these things you must know first of all. And I will add one more thing to it. Have a proper knowledge on frameworks, strategies. This is something which I prefer. Okay, and anything else you want to add with this team? Anything else you want to add with this other than this, like a generic skill set for every cloud security professionals? This is very important. Awareness of security tools used in security monitoring, or then quality, or let's say VA or PT, or let's say auditing, compliance, etc. So it is good if you have this knowledge on this. That doesn't mean that you have to learn all these things. It will be good. Yeah, definitely. Aware of security information policies. That's very important. That's what I'm writing here. Definitely. It's very important. I agree. So like this is how team you can basically get into a job profile. So what it requires, definitely you can basically go for a training. Training is well, definitely I suggest training is good. Plus read, read, read. More and more information you're getting. Okay, and how much hands-on you can get, how much practice you can get, that much you will be expert. Don't forget, that is a very important thing. You go to any cloud course anywhere, anything, but how much you can get into the hands-on part of it. Now let's say I have seen that most people like, Krish, I passed the AWS exam, I passed Azure exam, I put Google exam, I passed this and that. How much you're hands-on in that, how much you can implement that effectively, how much you know the best practices, have you tried all these things? This is what the primary thing every company will look into if your experience is less than 10 years. So definitely hands-on. Then self-study. This is also very important. Most people think that, okay, you go to a course and basically by then you will be, so course and training is very important, but after that this matters. So basically define a proper strategy according to your job role, according to your current scenario. What all, see, create a list. Okay, current, what all things you know currently. Okay, based on that job role you want to achieve. Okay, then additional things required for you to learn. So based on that, plan accordingly and set a timeline. You'll be able to definitely get into this job profile. This is what I see for almost some 16 years till for the last 16 years actually. And definitely we have a lot of certification providers in the market, lot of providers actually. Cloud Security Alliance, which provides the CCSK certification, IC Square, which provides CCSP, CISSP. Yes, definitely. It's very important. Basically, for delivery managers, they don't have to get a hands-on. Okay, that is a very important question. So last time, I don't know the name, I don't remember the name, I don't want to expose it actually. So one person asked me, Krish, I'm currently in a managerial role. I'm currently in a managerial role. Example, it can be delivery manager, whatever it is. Okay, I am driving a team of 10, so team of cloud professionals or cloud security professionals. Okay, I repeat, I got a person who told me he is in a manager level who is driving a team of 10 cloud professionals. So is it mandatory for me to learn AWS or Azure before I go to CCSP? I say yes. Why? Why? Because once you know or once you are familiar with at least one cloud platform, you can give them the strategy, you can drive them better. So that doesn't mean that you have to memorize everything, you have to basically learn in depth. But at least if you are aware of this cloud platform, how the controls are working, how it is implemented and everything, then the driving strategy or management will be very much more effective. This is what I have seen every time. Okay, that is why if you get some additional skills, if you basically are able to open the console and do something, if you are aware of that things, definitely that will help you a lot. Okay, so basically the Cloud Security Alliance offers a lot of certification like the CCS and everything. IC Square is there, AWS is there, a lot of providers are there. Okay, so but this one I'll tell you this, I have seen this is one of the most hottest one in the market now. CCSK actually, you know what is CCSK, right? Cloud Certificate Cloud Security Knowledge. Okay, and when I compare with this exams, all the exam, the advantage for CCSK is basically for CCSK, okay, it's an open book exam, okay, it's an open book exam, and basically you have definitely two chances, and the exam is a bit simple. You have to simply stick on to only one or two or three materials which they are providing, nothing more. That's very simple exam, you can focus. So basically, that is one of certification which you can focus, okay. But the next is CCSP. IC Score offers certification called as CCSP, Certificate of Cloud Security, Certified Cloud Security Professional, CCSP. So definitely when you say the word CCSP, most people ask me, Krish, do we have to need any kind of platform experience for this? Definitely no, we don't have to have a platform experience, but CCSP requires at least 5 years working experience in security and all. The second one, I always strongly recommend if you, before you go to a CCSP certification, if you have a basic platform knowledge, like at least any cloud platform, if you are aware of any cloud platform, this will be very much easy for you. But this is not focused. These two certifications are completely vendor neutral. This is all vendor neutral, not vendor specific. So basically what happens is when you go to CSA or IC Square, what happens is basically the certifications you're taking is not biasing to any cloud service provider, and it's a complete management level certification. And AWS is offering a lot of certifications, including the AWS certified solutions architect associate, solutions architect professional, some specialty things are there. But previously, if you want to pass if you want to write a specialty exam, first of all you have to pass the associate exam, then you have to go for the professional exam, then you have to write a specialty. But now what happens is you can directly write any exam in AWS without any prerequisites. Okay, so basically it's very much advantage for people because people can directly go from the focus on specialty requirements as per the business things. And the next one, Microsoft Azure. So Azure also we have a lot of certification. The best part is Azure started offering a lot of certifications, the SAP, the level of SAP or operations security. They're offering a lot of certifications now. Okay, so basically you can go to the Microsoft website, and there you can find a chart where you can see the certification based on job roles. Okay, GCP is also providing Google Cloud Platform. OpenStack is on-premises cloud. It's very interesting. Isaka is not providing any cloud courses, but it's good definitely for those people who want to start with auditing and all. Okay, we have a Easy Council certifications for like CEX kind of things and all. And then we have a CompTIA. CompTIA is offering certificate Cloud Plus. So Cloud Plus, CCSP and CCSK is completely vendor neutral, and most of the other certifications except the second all is basically vendor specific. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so basically it's all about, see, you can go to 100 courses, but basically choosing the right one for your requirement is what matters. So I'll give an example. So let's say, for example, if you want to start your career in cloud security, start with the cloud platform. either AWS or Azure. So most people ask me, Krish, how do you say AWS is good or Azure is good? Definitely we cannot say this is better, but I recommend AWS for a start for certain people. But why? Because when you go to AWS certification, okay, so it is the basically these guys are basically started the cloud journey in the market from 2006 onwards, and nowadays they are the top providers in the market. So if you can learn AWS, Azure and everything can be much easier for you, or you can directly go for Azure also. So start with a cloud platform, learn one more platform additionally. That's a very important thing, don't forget. You can start with either one cloud platform, AWS or Azure or anything. Start with the cloud platform. The second point is learn one more cloud platform by yourself. That's very important. I'll guide you whatever doubts you have, no problem on that. Third point, you can basically go, once you basically finish these certifications, learn some Linux. I'll tell you the best sources you can learn Linux. Okay, learn some Linux. Okay, now comes the question, do I have to basically learn Python? Do I have to basically learn Java or JSON? So almost for 60 to 70% job requirements, this is not mandatory. Don't forget, or up to 60% requirements, I can say this is basically not mandatory. First point. The second point is, if you have some Python knowledge or if you have some JSON skills and all, definitely it can help a lot. I'll give an example. Let's say in AWS, if you want to learn AWS security, JSON is 100% mandatory. If you want to basically learn AWS security, 100% JSON is there. If somebody is saying, if some training institute, somebody is saying that, okay, you can learn AWS security without JSON, don't be fooled. Why? Because you need to know JSON. But you don't have to write the code from the beginning. You have everything as predefined templates. You must know just to customize it. And without, I 100% guarantee you, without any programming knowledge, without any other skill set, you'll be able to modify that code very easily. 100% sure. It's very easy to understand. Because what I'm telling you is not to learn the complete JSON. You have a set of predefined templates. You must know how to customize it, that you can learn without any hassle. It's very simple to understand. Okay, so that's very important. So basically for automation, people require Python or Java or things like that, or PowerShell or Bash. All these things are required. But that also I suggest PowerShell and Bash. Okay, you can basically learn PowerShell and Bash, but that also you can learn based on the job role. Because learning PowerShell is a huge thing, learning Python is a huge thing. Learn that particular thing based on your job requirement. That's more than enough. You don't have to learn from A to Z. It is not possible practically. Okay, so before you start your cloud journey team, the only thing you have to understand is what exactly you have to learn. So that basically it's strictly personal to each people. That's why I'm not able to share you completely, because some people already see now one person told me, Krish, I already have an auditing experience. For that person it's different. Like for every people it's so different. No, definitely in my perspective, to be honest, in my perspective, starting a cloud career is not definitely, oh, you have to get a you have to get some experience. See, experience you will get only when you work somewhere, right? So don't worry about that. You can basically enter the cloud security domain without experience also, no problem. Okay, that's it. And team, just before you stop, please make sure you fill the feedback form. It's basically a part of the quality assurance part. Just want to see if my session was informative for you. That's fine. Okay. And one more thing I want to tell you, team. There is no point you learn everything. Okay. So make a proper strategy on what exactly you want to become, either for cloud security or either for DevOps or SecOps or whatever it is, and plan that accordingly. That's it. Okay. So definitely it was a very good session for me also. Thank you so much, team. Thank you so much. Please fill this feedback form before you finish. Thank you, team. Thank you so much.